me happy too, which is why I'm doing this for you people too. So let's start. So Justice Obasi, as I mentioned earlier, is here today. He's one of our seniors, one of our great guys. He has been active in the community. So you can imagine that he's not someone you play with. So Justice Obasi, I welcome you to the meet today. Please unmute your mic and say hi to the team first of all, before I leave them for you.
Hi everyone. Hi Mr. David. You are all welcome.
Justice. Okay, and thank you. Welcome you to the meet too. So Justice will be the one to take care of this particular session. He knows what to teach you according to your concept page or your timetable. So Justice, this is where I hand them over to you. Please, let's begin our session. And thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, first of all, let me share my screen. Can anyone see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay.
Yes, we can.
All right, you're all welcome. So, we've all heard about C programming for the few weeks we have been with ALS, and some of us might have done some researches or read about C, or even learned from LLS about C programming. Why some of us are still wondering what is C programming. So today we are going to start with C programming and see what we can understand from it today. Okay, so we have a GitHub repository where we have a kind of guidelines that guides us throughout the C programming language. Mr. David will share that with you after the lecture. So we start on the introduction to C. What is C? Who invented C? What year was C invented? Why are we learning to program in C? What's so special about C? And what is C used for? Why did we start with C? So, in order not to waste much time, what is C? To make it simple, C is a general purpose programming language. It is a programming language very popular among many programmers in the world today. It was created by Dennis Ritchie in the year 1972. And since then, C has been used to create so many programs, including the Unix or Linux that we all know today, and we have been learning since we started ALS. So why do we need to learn C? Or why are we starting with C? What's important about C? What's special about C? C is one of the most popular programming languages in the world, like I've said. And if you are able to understand C, if you're able to study C and understand it, you will have little or no problem at all in learning other programming languages like Java, like Python, C++, and the rest of them. C is very fast, like Java 2 and Python, that are fast programming languages. C is very versatile. You can use it to do a lot of things. So it's very, very important that we learn C, or we start with C at this stage. All right. So that is the little or brief introduction to C. Now let's go to the topic of the day: variables, data types. We are going to cover variables and data types. We are going to see how we can write in C and explain some certain things about C. So C, to write in C, you need something called a text editor. Some of us know some text editors like Notepad, VI or Vim, Emacs, and some other ones too. But among programmers, things like IDEs are more popular. Not that other text editors are not popular, but IDEs standing for Integrated Development Environments are more popular. Examples of IDEs are things like VS Code, Xcode, Sublime Text, Eclipse, even code blocks. These are very popular ones, but there are so many other ones too, which as you go on the programming world, you will learn more about them. What's the difference between IDEs and text editors? The text editors you know today, like VI and Emacs, after creating your file and writing your C code, you will need a compiler to compile it. But in the IDEs, you don't need that. The compilers are inbuilt into the IDEs, so you kind of do everything there, and IDEs has more functionalities and makes life or work easier. Instead of wasting time to compile with GCC and others, you just go ahead and run it. Just hit a button, run, and it goes like that. So today we are going to use an online IDE, and that will be this from Programmist. Some of you might have heard about this website. It's a very good one. I use it for my personal studies too, so you can as well try it out on your own. So first of all, in every C programming file or program, you must have something called the header file. The header files are written this way: include stdio.h. The H there stands for header. What are header files? Header files, though you still learn more about them in the future, but just to have a glimpse of what it is just a file that contains some information or instructions that lets the computer understand that you are writing a C. 2, these keywords or this or that are supposed to be included in C. So they bring in those files and make you to be able to write C. So after the header file, you go ahead and add something we call a function. This time is called the main function. Every C file or program must have this main function. There are so many other functions, but this main function is very important in every C file. You almost cannot do without it. The main function has a curly bracket where all your codes will come in. So what I mean is all your codes will be in between this first curly bracket and this last one to end it all. Inside it, you will have something we call a return attribute or keyword. The return signifies that the program is over or has ended. So you usually put 0 or at times 1 or other values in the return. We'll still learn more about that in the future. And every line of code that you write inside the main function or any other function must end with a semicolon. This is the semicolon, and that signifies that the program has ended. Now, how do you write your text? How does the C program display your text or other things, other informations to the user? we use another function inside the main function that is called printf. Printf function. You write the printf function, you put a parenthesis followed by double quotes. Always remember to end it or close it with a semicolon. Now, whatever you write in between these semicolons are what will appear on your screen. Let's give it a trial. Usually you hear something like hello world whenever you're starting a new programming word, so I'm going to use that. So let's write hello world, and I hit run. You see, it appears hello world. Whatever information I input in this printf file, I will receive it back on the output section. Let's say I wipe this out and say hello David. That I will get. So that is the simple basics of starting a C program. So let's go deeper and understand these things. Let's keep this aside a little bit and understand some certain things. Then we come back to this. So we are starting with data types. What are data types, or what is data types? Data types, or a data type in programming, is a classification that specifies which type of value a variable has and what type of mathematical, relational, or logical operations can be applied to it without causing an error. An example of data type is this. Here we have integer here. That is a data type. We'll explain more on that. So we'll see that throughout our programming session, and we're going to understand that. So the data types could be a number or a character, the English alphabets that we know. We have 4 major types of data types, and that includes 1. Integers, 2. Floats, 3. Double, and 4. Char. There are still others like the unsigned integers, signed integers, short and long integers. Okay, but we'll focus more on the 4 major types for now. As time goes on, we'll understand more about the rest. Okay, so let's put that in practice. But before we put it in practice, we must understand variables. What is a variable? A variable is like a container that holds some values. A container that holds some values. To indicate the storage area, each variable should be given a unique name, also known as identifier. Variable names are just the symbolic representation of a memory location. Rules for naming a variable. A variable name can only have letters, either uppercase or lowercase, or both. It can also have digits and underscore, but no special characters like the $sign, the @sign, and so many other signs. So the first letter of a variable should always be a letter or an underscore, not a digit. You can have any length of a variable name, but it's always advisable to stick with 8. some compilers might give you difficulties if you have more than 31. Some even more than 8 will give you some issues. So it's advisable to stick with 8, though you can have more than that. You should try to give meaningful names to variables. Names that someone who is looking at your code will be able to understand what that variable does. Okay, so that will make it easier for people to read. So let's see the syntax for a variable. The syntax for a variables, you start with data type and the variable name, then assign a value to it. Let's see that in our programming editor. That's the online editor. So here I want to declare a variable, and to do that I will first of all give it a data type, which I want to use integer. Integers are for numbers. I will now give it a name. Let me call it variable. This is my variable of integer type. That shows that it's going to contain number values. I can assign any number to this name variable. Let me give it 60. So whenever I call on this variable, whenever anywhere in this program I write or call variable, the value is what will replace it. The value will come out and display 60, not variable. We have
your share screen, please.
Hello?
Screen. I think I can't see your screen.
Can any other person see my screen?
Yes, you can see it.
Okay.
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay.
Check your connection.
We can see your screen, but we can't hear you properly.
It's visible. We can see it.
Okay. Maybe I
I see
should.
your screen. I can hear you.
Please, we can't hear you properly.
Okay. Sorry about that. So I'll increase my volume now. Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Yes, it's good.
Okay.
Yes.
So remember, I said we should always close our line of code
Yes, it's visible.
with semicolon. So you do that
Yes,
to all
yes,
your variables
yes.
as
Yes.
well. In C programming, you can give any blank space, empty line or space. The C programming will not bother you about that. It will ignore all that. It doesn't matter how many lines you jump over or how many space you give. And if you don't give that, it will still work. But you need to do that to allow people to understand it, to be able to read your programs and understand them easily. So that is why you see sometimes in programming, you see some programmers give some space, some lines, leave them open without putting anything there. So it's okay. The program will not complain. C programming will just ignore that white space. But there is something you should know, especially concerning ALS. At the end of every code, after inputting your semicolon, you should make sure not to have a space, any white space at all. Some compilers will not disturb you about that. You will not have issues with some compilers about it, but it is not the ideal thing to do. Always make sure you clean off all white space. That is why some projects that LLS will be giving you will be seeing some errors like trailing white space, because LLS has a way of checking that through Betty, and Betty will give you that trailing white space error. because you have left a white space after your semicolon, which is wrong. But before the semicolon, any number of space you leave does not matter. So just bear that in mind. Okay, so we have another type of variable with another integer, another data type, the char. Char is a data type for alphabets or characters. You can name it anything. Let me say variable 2. This is wrong. You don't put a space after your variable or in your variable name. Always make sure there is no space. If you must input a space, please use underscore. It's allowed, and those are the only things allowed. You can use uppercase or lowercase, but not special characters, and you cannot start it with a digit. So we assign this a value. Since it's a character type, we assign it any number from the English alphabet. And to assign characters to variables, we always input the single quotes. So let me assign this as D. So in the memory space, we have a variable of data type character. The name of the variable is variable 2, and it contains the value D. Now we close it with semicolon. We have assigned that. There is another data type and variable of floats, the 4 major ones. What is the difference between floats and integers? Floats contain numbers with decimals. Though it's still numbers, but it has decimals on them. What do I mean by decimals? We have something like 25 points, any number at all. Once you have the point in any value, just know that it is not an integer, but a float or a double. So we close that and create a double. Double and floats are almost the same thing, with a small difference, which I will explain very shortly. So let me give this another name. Okay, now notice something. In my float and in my double, the variable names are the same or almost the same, but it will still work. Does anybody know why?
Because of the uppercase and lowercase.
Exactly. So in C programming, uppercase is completely different from lowercase. A situation whereby I write something like this, it is completely different from this. It is completely different from this. So they are not the same thing. The program will not see it as the same. So always be mindful of that, so that you won't be asking what happened. You are inputting your variables and it's not working, it's not coming, or what is going on. always check where you have used the decimals and make sure where you have used uppercase and lowercase, and make sure that they are the same. So these are the 4 major variables. What is the difference in all of them? We can see some difference from the characters and the integers, but on the float and double seems to be the same. The major difference is that the float has the size of 4 bytes, while the double has the size of 8 bytes. Integers has the size of either 2 or 4 bytes, depending on the machine you are using. If you are using a 32-bit machine, it will be 2 bytes. If you are using a 64-bit machine, it will be 4 bytes. While characters has values of 1 byte. 1 byte for characters. And characters and all other variables can only contain 1 value. In other words, you cannot do something like this, 2 and 4, even if you separate it with a comma or any other sign. A variable must contain 1 single value at a time, but you can always change it. Let's assume along the line the value has changed, but you don't want to go back to change the value from the first one. You can still come down here, call that same variable. This time let me use the integer variable. You reassign it to another value, 4. From this moment downwards, the program will see the value 4 inside the variable, no longer 2. And anything before the last variable will still see the 2 value inside it. So that is that for variables. Is there any question on this before we go further on how to display variables and other stuff? Does anyone have a question? Any question?
Okay.
Am I that clear?
Some person's hands are up.
Okay. Okay. Stephen, go ahead. Answer your question. Stephen. You might like to unmute your system. We can't hear you. Stephen. Okay. Chimezie Abo. Can we hear from you?
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Okay.
My question is, you said there are 4 to 5 variable types. Hello?
Yeah.
So my question is, from the function before the main, you imputed integer, which is a character type. Is it possible for us to input like float or char or double before the main and
Yes.
give our execution?
Yes, it's possible for your functions. But for main functions, you either use integers or void. With time you will learn more about that or why is like that. But that is for functions and not variables. Okay? The main function here, this is a function. Here is a function, not a variable. to know the difference between a function, it will have this brackets with it, where you are supposed to put an argument or something inside. But for the main function, for now, you don't need something inside it. Some functions you might input an argument inside the function, some you might not. But variables do not have such thing. Variables are on their own without any brackets. So it's possible for you to use something else here. For this function, we have void, and there's a reason for all those ones. But when you get to that, you understand more on that. But for now, we are focusing on the basics of the programming, of C programming. Okay. I believe I've answered the question. Is there any other question?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There is a question. It's Stefan.
Okay. So, Victor Egele, can I hear from you?
Okay. Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
So you said we can put something. Now, when I was going through some textbooks, some books, I noticed that some of them would just write the main function, no int or float or whatever. They just put main and then the two brackets. I don't know. Can you kind of shed more light on that?
Okay. Like I said, we will understand this with time. Some you will see something like void. Okay. Some you might not see something at all, depending on the editor you are using or the IDE you are using. Like this online editor I'm using, there are some things I might ignore, but the program will still run. But it's not the ideal thing to do, especially if you are using something like Emacs or VI and compiling with GCC. It's not the standard thing to do. It's always good to indicate the data type. Alright? So why you indicate your data types depends on what you want it to return on this side. Some might not give any value there. Some might just leave it blank. Some might just put 0. Some might put something else. But we are talking about the basics here. Okay, so we are focusing more on variables, data types, displaying of our contents. Then later we will understand how this function works. The instructions on how functions works are all contained in the header files. Well, when we get there, we'll explain more about that. Alright? Is that all for now? Okay, I have a Marvelous Akomire. Go ahead and speak.
No, that was a mistake. I didn't know my hands were raised. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. What of Stephen? I can still see your hand. Are you available now? Stephen.
Yes, I'm available.
Okay.
Yes, I'm available.
Go ahead.
Okay, I have two questions.
Okay.
So, the first one, you say that you can change a variable in the code. You can change from 2 to 4.
Okay.
I don't understand that very well.
Okay.
And the second question is that I've seen in some codes, but at the return 1 instead of 0. I want to understand why 1.
Okay. So first, let me answer the first question. Okay. So let me take this out and all these ones out. this is a variable with a value 2. You can always declare this variable without assigning any value to it. That is by closing it here or adding your semicolon here. Then you can go ahead and write your code. At any point you now need this variable, you can then assign a value to it. So when you want to assign a value to it, it does not matter whether you have assigned a value to it before or not. Whatever you assign to it at that moment is the value it will contain. It will replace whatever was in it before. Let me go ahead and assign a value to this variable equals to 2. I can come here and write my program. Okay, let me display this. So I want to display the value of the variable. To do that, we use something we call format specifiers, but we'll get to that later. Now the value of this variable is what? 2, and that is what it is displaying here. Okay, remember, whatever you input inside your printf is what it will display. Anyhow you do it is how it will be. If you put a space, it will show. If you don't, it will not. So this is my variable. Now I can go ahead, come below here and assign another value to this variable. I assign 4 to it. Then I go downwards and print it again. I want it to be on a new line. That's why I'm inputting this here. So don't confuse yourself with it. So you can see that after reassigning the value 4 to the variable, I'm printing out the same variable here. It still gives me the result of, or the same value of 4, not 2, because I have reassigned it. But whatever was inside it before reassigning it still remained intact. Here it is still 2. I don't know if I'm making some sense here. I don't know if you understand it. So before you reassign it, it contains the value you have already given to it. After you reassign it, the value changes to this. That doesn't mean that it wipes off the first value. It's still there in the memory before the reassignment, before the new reassignment. So that is that for the variable. Do I still need to explain that more? Is it okay?
It's okay.
All right. So then the second question about return 1. Yes, if you see something like this, it's all right. It is all right. In C programming, every function must return something. Though you can still tell the function not to return something, but most of them have a return. It's either it returns 1 or 0. There is a reason for that. The 0 stands for false, while 1 is for true. All those will be explained when you enter into functions. But first of all, let us understand the things that happen inside a function. Then when we are learning how to create functions and what the properties of functions mean, we will understand this and we will use them. Okay? Alright? So that's that for that. Do we still have more hands? Okay. Osita Demma God's power. Osita, are you there? Hello, Osita. You might unmute your device so that we can hear you. Are you there? Okay, let's move to the next person. Oscar, can we hear from you, Oscar?
Okay, good evening.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. I think I joined late, but the question I had you've explained earlier. I think I've understood what I had to ask. I think have been answered. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. So, Osita, are you still there? Osita, are you still there? Okay, let's hear from Felistas Fanier. Sorry. Felistas.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm fine, welcome.
I'm good, thank you. Can you just go back to the screen with the code so I can ask?
Okay.
All right. So my question is, since the integer and the float and the double are all numbers, right?
Yeah.
So how do I input if I am dealing with an integer and a float at the same time, and I wanna print them in the same line? Am I gonna still get the result I want, or how is it gonna work there?
Okay. So let me wipe this out.
Okay.
Remember, we can name our variables anything. So I would like to name this A, right? This is integer A. So I have float B, right? Doubles and floats are the same thing. The difference is just in the size. Double has 8 bytes while float has 4 bytes. That's just the difference. That means doubles can contain more numbers than floats.
Okay.
So let me name this C. So if I understand your question correctly, you are saying if I wish to print the values of each of these in one line like this, is that what you mean?
Yes.
If you are going to get the same value. Okay, so see what happens. There is something we call format specifiers. You can see this and %d here.
Yes.
For floats, you use F, not D.
Okay.
And for double, you use LF. Do you understand?
Okay. Yes, I do.
While D is for integers. Integers can as well use I. Okay? But you mainly
Okay.
use D. We are going to that in the next session here now. So
Okay.
if you change your format specifiers, you will get a different result. You will be able to print a float or a double or an integer and even a character. Okay, so that's the next place we are heading to now. Just hang on, let me take questions finish, then we can go there. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So I still have one more hand. I don't know if he's still online. Osita. Okay, the line has gone, the hand has gone off. Okay. So I believe there's no more questions. Okay, go ahead, Osita, go ahead.
Good evening. Sorry, my phone was having issue. That was the problem.
Okay. Go ahead.
Please, can you go back to the code? Let me see. Okay, I have a question. When you were mentioning the data types, you mentioned 4. So I'm seeing the main, that's the integer beside the main. So I was like trying to find out whether the integer there, you can replace it with any of the data types, like whether it will affect your code if you should replace it, like putting
like
float
this
or char. Yeah, that's what I mean. Something
yes,
like
you
that.
You can.
Okay.
Remember, data types are not for variables alone. You use it for a lot of other identifiers, like a function, like an array, and so many other ones. Okay. So while that is settled, let's move over to format specifiers. I believe no more hands. Okay, no more hands. Format specifiers. Like I said earlier, there are so many data types, but we're focusing on 4 of them at the moment. So also there are so many format specifiers. What are format specifiers? Format specifiers are used to display the actual values of a variable inside the printf function. So you want to display the value of a variable named A. You will not type in A. You will use the format specifier. If the variable is a character type, you will use %C. And if it is an integer, you use %D or I. If it is a float, you use %F, and so on and so on. We also have strings, okay, but we learn more about strings in other topics. This is for double, LF. Okay, you can go ahead and Google it and see all the format specifiers. You don't need to cram them. You don't need to bother yourself with cramming them. Just learn the basic ones and use them at the moment. when you need them. The rest, when you need them, you can go ahead and check which format specifier is needed for that. Then as time goes on, you will become familiar with it and you'll be able to do that without opening any other without searching it online. Okay, you can always search any information you need about C on Google and you get that and you use it. So let's practice on format specifiers. So we say that for integers we have %d, for floats we have %f, for double we have %lf. Okay, we also have char, which let me give it any name. We have C to display chars. So to display variables, what do you need to do? After assigning your variable a number, you want to display it, you go to the printf value, you print the value with %d. You can choose to just print it without inputting any other characters. It will still work the same. Whatever you input as a value is what will be displayed when you compile and run your code. Though we are not compiling here because we are using an online editor which automatically compiles for us. We only need to click run for the program to show us the value. Okay, so for the float, now we understand what we mean by difference in float. I will name this B. Okay, so float displays numbers with decimals. To display this, I will use F and I will change the variable to B. Okay, I didn't close that, that's why we're having error, so let's do that. Now you can notice that the float has more numbers which I did not add in the value while initializing it. That is the attributes of floats. The number floats, I have here 35.67, but being a decimal, it has broken it out to 35.66999 and the rest of them. So the floats will display decimals of up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 digits, 6 decimal places. So let's check double and display a double. You might decide to use any one of them as they seem to be almost the same thing. Okay, so I will use this. To change that, I will add L here and change the variable name here being C, and I will have the variable. This is for double. Now notice a slight difference here. The double was able to display the exact number I added without breaking down this 87 into 86 999 and other and the rest of them. You just wrote 34.87000. That is another difference between double and and float. Sorry. So that is that for that. And then we have char or car. We name it f. We assign the value. Remember to always use single quotes. To display this, you change this to C and change the variable name f. I still did not close it, so let me do that. So we have the value here displayed as h without including the single quotes. Let's assume you don't include the single quotes. It will give you an information or a value you don't want, being an integer or at times an error. Okay, like you can see there. Let me include let me say something like okay, I think that's correct. But if you use D here, it will give you an integer value. Oh, sorry, character D. Okay, so we are getting an error on that. Some editors will give you an integer value or some random numbers, which is not what you want. So always include the single quotes and then input whatever character you want to input, and it has to be a single character. So that is it on that aspect. So let us do an assignment. We will create a variable of some students, an integer to carry their age, a float to carry their score, double to carry their grade or average grade. Can we do that? How do we do?
Yes, please.
Okay. If you have any editor, probably online or emails or VI, you can try it on your own. Let me write the question here so that we understand that on the message box. Okay, I'm coming. Let me get the question or the task. Okay, let's use this. So check your message box. You will see the message. I've pasted it. Let's all try this. I would like to see some of you try that before I attempt it. Can we all try that? Declare a variable, declare a variable, then assign the age or name to that variable, including the data type, and then display it like this. My name is, and or you are so age, or how old are you, or I am so age, something like that. Can someone do that? Do we understand that question? Hello? Did you understand this assignment?
Yes,
Yes,
we
yes,
do.
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so let me give us some time to check it and understand it. Then, once you are done, you can raise up your hand and share your screen.
Excuse me, Justice.
Yeah, David.
Okay, we may not. Yeah, we may not have enough time for them to solve all those tasks now. So I think we'll make it as an assignment for them.
Okay, okay.
Okay, yeah. You also know that we have a session by 9, so we could um, round up now. So we could also go and prepare for our own
Okay,
by
okay.
then.
All right.
Okay, so if you are done, I will just walk them through the process of how to fork a repository and then give them the access to the whole thing so that they could also do it as we did ours.
Okay, I think you can go ahead and do that because I just wanted to round up with that assignment.
Okay, so are you done with them?
Yes.
Okay. Does any of you have any questions for him? Any questions at all on any of the concepts that he has showed you? Okay, Adetule Ayomide, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, please. I just want to ask one question about the integer. So when he was showing the format specifier for all those variable, so in front of this integer, there's something like a decimal integer. So why the decimal is there? So I'm a little bit confused since float and double is the one that is dealing with decimal number. So why do we have decimal integer in front of that integer when it was showing the format specifier document?
Are you talking
Should I
about
answer
this
that?
place? Okay, go ahead, David.
Okay.
Yeah, this place.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if she has been here since we started, because if you were here from the beginning, you should have understood what that is. But let me just go over that again so that we could end our session now. Justice, if you don't mind, please help me go back to your screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so as he said, we have different kinds of data types in C programming, and the major ones are these four. We have the int, the float, the double, and the char. Now, the int is used to store whole numbers. That's any number without a decimal. It could be 1, 2, 3, it could be minus 1, 2, 3, a whole number. We know what whole numbers are. So that's what we use int. Then we have float. Float is used to store decimal numbers, and double is also used to store decimal numbers. Now, the difference between these two is that float, double has more precision than float, and double is also bigger in size than float. So you could store more digits than you could store in float. That is what he said. And also we have the char. The char is short for character. It is used to store characters, as the name is. So you could store A, you could store B. Now you cannot store something like a name like David inside of char like that. It's not going to work. If you try to print it, it's going to print the first letter you have in David, which is D. So for you to be able to store David as in char, you need to declare the char as a string, which is not what we are into now. So this is the basics of it. It's good you understand the starting point. So
Yes, yes, I understand all this. I said in front of that document they wrote decimal integer, so that's why I'm asking. In the what's it called? In the
Okay, David, can I explain that to her?
Okay, please.
I get the confusion because it was something I also struggled with.
Yes,
It says decimal integer. Now, the decimal, okay, we have different types of numbers and characters. We have hexadecimals, we have and all of that. So on a normal day, the 1, 2, 3 we know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That order is decimal. It's referred to as decimal. So those numbers are in decimal. A decimal number can also be converted to hexadecimal and so on. Okay, so it's a decimal, but the float and the double have decimal points. Okay, so don't mix it up. They have decimal points. Numbers with decimal points, okay, are the floats and the double. But on a normal day, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up to 100 and all of that we know are decimal. They're decimal form of counting, like they're decimal numbers. Okay, so that's why it's called a decimal integer, because this integer is not referring to hexadecimal or any other form. It is a decimal integer. I don't know if that's clear.
Yes, very, very clear. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. David, go ahead. I think.
Okay. If that is understandable, please, does any other person have any questions for Mr. Justice? Okay. I want to believe we all understand. Okay, just to round up our class, let me go back to what he has said. Okay, to be sure that everybody understands. So today he taught us about data types and variables, and also how to print to the screen, which means how to display our output to the screen. So while I'm going over it again, I want to share my screen so that I will show you people a repository that we have in the community where we have our C tutorials, and then our tags are also there. I will show you how you could fork the repository, clone it, and also get to do those tags. So I'm sharing my screen now. Okay, it's coming up. Okay, Ezebon, can you see my screen?
Yes, please, I can.
Okay, good. So I'm going to, I will drop the link to the repository in the groups. The name of the repository is C Programming Tutorial. So once you just click on it, it will bring you here. Come on. Okay, as you already see, we already have, how many forks do we have? 52 forks here. It's not highlighted because this is on my own account, but on yours, you see that it's 52, which means 52 persons have forked this repository. If you look over here, we have pull request 18, which means we have over 18 persons that has done the task and submitted. So this is our repository, and these are all the lessons we have. So each day after your classes, you could go back here and go through the notes he has given. From the introduction now, he explained some of these things to you, but then it is expected that you answer the other questions that he dropped for you. So when you open the repository, you will get this introduction to C. Try to answer all the questions we have, like what is C, who invented C, what he or C invented, all those things. Get to know your C. That is the only way you'll be able to develop interest for C, and then you want to learn more about C. So get to know what you could build with C. Then he talked about data types at first. So what is a data type? Just like he said, a data type in program is a classification that specifies which type of value a variable has. Now, in your PC there, you have music, like MP3, you have videos, you have text files like your Word document, your Excel. Now, all those are data types. For example, your PDF has the extension .pdf. Your Word document has the extension .docx. Your music has the extension .mp3. All those are data types. So MP3 is a data type of music, while PDF is a data type of PDF. So you see how those things are. So in programming too, we also have those extensions. For example, whole numbers falls into the data type of int. Int is short for integers. Okay, so any whole number at all that you know of is an int. And then we have float, just like as I explained, is a decimal number. So any decimal number at all is referred to as float. Double is the same, and char is of characters, single characters. Let's also note that. So when you have something like A, just as a letter, is a char. When you have B, stuff like that, it is a char. But when you have something like a zebon as a whole, it is called a string. So declaring a char and declaring a string are two different things, but the keywords you use are the same, which is this char, but the way you declare them are different. So let's also note that. Now we have other types of data types, which he did not mention, of course. He's not going to give you everything. You'll go back and do your research on those ones. But the one he gave you are the main ones. So you are expected to go back and do your research on the other ones and also get to know the format specifiers for those ones. So I believe that is understood. Now we talked about variables. Now, what is a variable? A variable is like a container where you store your data. On your PC, they always love to make reference to our PC because that's what we have at hand. On your PC, there you have folders, and inside those folders, you could have something like music, text files, videos, and stuff like that. Now, your folder now could be referred to as a variable because it is used to hold other things like our data. All right. But in C programming here, our variable in this case can only hold one kind of data, which means just like you have your music, your PDFs stored inside a particular folder, you cannot have PDF music stored in one particular folder in C programming or in programming as a whole. So in this case, when we are declaring a variable, we need to specify what kind of data we want to store inside. For example, if I want to store music inside of it, I will declare it as a kind of music variable. If I'm storing a text file, I should declare it as a text file variable. So just like we know, we have different kinds of data types, okay? So which means I'm supposed to store all those data inside of the variable. So when I'm declaring a variable that I'm supposed to use to store all those data, I should declare it according to what I want to store inside. For example, if I'm storing int, which is a whole number, I should declare my variable as that of int. Just like what he explained, you have int age, which means what I'm going to store inside is going to be a whole number, which could be 18 years. Let's say I'm going to store my GPA. GPA is always a decimal number, like 2.98. So in that case, I'm going to declare it as a double or as a float. Now, I want to advise us, whenever you're writing a program that you need to use decimal numbers, I would advise that you use double. Yeah? Why? Because it is more precise. You could do your own research about that. Now, he told us about some naming conventions, how we could name our variables. Now, your variable should not start with a special character or a number. Special characters could be a $, hyphen, or all those things, or ampersand symbol. Those are special characters. It should not start with that. It could only start with a character or an underscore. Okay? And the way you name your variable, if you are having two names in a variable, you can't have space in your variable. So it will be more readable if you, for example, let's say I'm supposed to have a variable name David Michael, right? So instead of writing David like this, Michael, it would be hard for somebody to read. So one of the naming conventions we were taught was to begin the first one with small letter. And then when you're beginning the first word, you're beginning with a capital letter. So in this case, somebody could easily read it. But if this is hard for you, you could use the underscore to separate these two things and it still works. So that is that. So that is that for variables, naming variables. And then he talked about format specifiers. What is format specifiers? It is basically a placeholder for your data type. For a placeholder indicates that, let's say I want to use a data type of int. So instead of using int there, I'm going to replace it with any of these format specifier or placeholders, as the case may be. Just like he showed you. Let's say I have age here. Let's say Ezebong is 12 years old. Sorry, 12 years old, right? And then I want to print the age of Ezebong here. So I could just write age is, and then I write 12 here, right? And then when I run it, it prints to the screen. But what if Ezebong was to enter this as an input, which means I will not be there to write this 12 here. So in this case, I'm going to replace this with whatever will come out. Let's say this was not here. Ezebong had to input this by himself after we've created an app that somebody needs to input their age. This is where we use format specifiers. So in this case, remember our format specifier for int is %d or modulo d. So immediately after your code, you separate with a comma, and then whatever comes after that should be what should replace your format specifier here or your placeholder. In this case, it is age, right? So I'll just write my age here. And then when I run this program, of course, it's going to print 0 because I've not declared anything here or I've not defined it. So let's say I had 23, and then I'm printing it again. So you see we have 23 here. But what if in the case where we have, let's say, I have Ezebong score to be, let's say, Ezebong scored 40.6 in his, let's say, mathematics or something like that. So here we could, let's do something more practical. I'll say his age is modulo D, and he scored, I did not define this. So this is going to be a double, right? Now, we could also have as many format specifiers inside a particular text or inside our print statement or inside any function you are trying to write. So in this case, our double, we are told that it is modulo LF, if I'm correct, right? Now, when you are done here, okay, so this is how it is. Now you are going to write it according to how it is here, which means this comes first, right? So this is what you should write first, which is we are replacing it with our age or whatever you want to replace it with. And afterwards, whatever comes next should come here, which is our score. So the rule is you can't replace carry score and then keep here. Then you can't just put it anyhow you want it. It won't work. So it has to follow a sequence. So however you want to display it should be how you want to display it. Now, if I print it to see, we have his age is 23, and then his score is 40. So if I was to replace this, let's say I replace this with score, right? And then I replace this with age. What is going to happen? We should get an error, or it might not get, okay, his age is 23, and his score is 40.6. This could work because it's a number. What if this was a string? Let's say name, I used to Python already. So let's say his name starts with letter E, right? And I wanted to have, let's say his name is, okay, I have this here, and then I replace here with, oh God, name. I replace here with name. What is going to happen? Of course, it's not going to print. His name is 8. His name is 8. Okay, now why did you print 8 here? Because this is the ASCII value of E. That's what you saw. That is something you will learn later. So this 8 here represents E in the ASCII value. You will learn that later. So this could give us errors in our code. If you look here, so it's giving us 0.00. So whenever you are giving your placeholder, they should follow a sequence of how you want it to be here. So if I wanted name to be here, it's going to be modulo C, and then I'll have my name here. Because this is a a double. I'm going to replace it with my score, not age. So I should have score here. So that is basically that on placeholders. I wanted us to get a grasp of that. Now, if you notice, we are having this, that. Now, this is our format specifier. We could format it. That is why it is called a format specifier. We could format it as we want it to be. So if I wanted this to be in 2 decimal places, this is how I should do it. Then you run your code. You see, it is reduced to 2 decimal places. So that is why we have the .2 here. You could have 3. I could have 3, depending on what I want. So you see that. So that is why it is called a format specifier. But you could also think of it as a placeholder because it's taking the space of what you want it to hold. So that is that for format specifier. And I think that is all that he taught us. Now, I wanted us to also attempt some of the tasks we had here, but time failed us. Okay, that is why we were not able to do that. But I would have still loved us to 7:30 already. Okay, so let's just check. Sorry, hello world. Okay, so I remember there was no C program here except somewhere very far away. Okay, no, not this. Okay, this says, okay, I want to believe we know how to do this. Write a C program that prints the size of various types on the computer it is compiled on. So we should just print the size of our data types. That is what this was saying. So I wanted us to also know that because perhaps we missed out on that. Where is my this thing? Okay, so to print the size of whatever it is you want to print, you are going to use the size of operator. This is the size of operator, and then whatever size you are looking for, you put it inside of here. Okay, so I could assign this to an integer and say, let's say, okay, let me just use age. I don't know why age is common. And then I could print age. Sorry. The size of int is modulo d, right? Then I replace here with age. And this around the program. So the size of int is 4. Print f. Used to the new language I'm writing. The size of int is 4. So if I was to replace this with char, it should be 1. If I'm not, so I'll just replace here with c. I'm supposed to declare this as, so this could hold, this could be int. You see, the size of this is 1. So that is supposed to work anyways. That is supposed to work. It's supposed to be an int. It's supposed to show us 1 here. Okay, because I'm trying to print a string here. And of course, this is an int. So you see one of the things here. I'm trying to print a string here, but then I'm declaring it as an int. So that's not going to work. But let me just put it inside one line and say print modulo d. And then I replace here with size of it should give us what we want. Print f. Sorry, I'm used to the language I'm writing. So when this print is going to give us 1 because the size of char is 1. So that is what this is expected of us, for us to print all the sizes of all the data types. So I believe we have a glimpse of that now. Now the other one says write a script. No, this is a script. It says write a script that print exactly. Now, this could also be written as, what did you say we should print? We should just print this, right? We should print this. But then the rule says you're not allowed to use any function necessarily in the black printf. We cannot use printf in this. So I wouldn't want to, distort us on that. But then this is the same thing as saying, if I run this program, oh God. Yeah, so is this, okay, let me just, okay, because of this quote here, that's why we're having that. I'm supposed to escape that with a special escape sequence. But let's ignore that for now. But let me just run this program. I want to explain something to us. Now, this print. Now, this is the tags, but there's another function they expected us to use, which I'm not going into because I want us to just understand this printf. There are other functions you could use to display output to the screen. We're supposed to cover that, but I don't know. Time didn't allow. So that is that. I believe that is all he covered. So till next time, now let me show us how we could have access to this too and start doing some of the tasks we have inside of here. So I will drop a link to this repository. Yeah. So what you do, when you click on that link, it will bring you to this interface here. What you need to do is to click on this code. It opens up this. No, sorry, that's not what you should do. The first thing you want to do, when you click on that link, it will bring you to this interface. This is what you should click on, fork. F-O-R-K. You click on the fork repository. Now it will take you to another interface where you have to either write the name. Now don't change the name for it. Just scroll down and then you click on create fork. Now it's going to create a copy of this to your own profile. So on your own GitHub, you're going to have this C programming tutorial there on your own profile. That is one. Now you will go back to your own profile where you have this particular repository, click on this code, not on mine, on yours. Click on the code. Now just click on copy, and then you go to your machine, your web terminal or something. Let me not do that on my, okay, let me do it on my web terminal. The longer I open my sandbox, it should be sleeping. Okay. So you open your web terminal, and of course, you sit into root, and then you git clone. Now, the URL you copied, you just paste the URL here. Now, this is the URL. Don't change anything. Now, hit enter. I don't want to do it. Okay, hit enter. Now, it will clone the repository here. Then you cd into the repository. The name is C-programming tutorial. You hit enter. Now, if I list the files, you see that I have all those files here. Now, the first thing you should do is to do your identity update, which is git config -- we know how to do this. And then user.name, then we'll put our username in quotes. Then we'll do another one, git config -- global user.email. We put our email, but in this case, our email should not be in quotes. Yeah, so that is all you need to do. Now, I will delete this better. Let me just exit out of this. Now, when you have done that, when you have cloned, you do your identity update, you now have access to the repository. Now, what you need to do is just to open up these tags from your terminals, wherever you are going to clone it into. And then you go to tax 1. Let's say the particular tags that were assigned to you that day. Now, you just go ahead and do that particular task. Now, this one says, write a program that prints the alphabet in lowercase, followed by a new line. Okay, that is not your task, right? But you just do the task that we assigned to you on that day. Now, when you finish doing the task, you git add, you commit, and you push. Now, after you push, this is what you do next. You come to C programming tutorial on your own account. Then you go to pull request. Just click on pull request. Then you create a new pull request. Now it will just ask you to add a message. If you look at this, these are people's pull request. Now you just create a pull request and then follow the prompt and create a pull request. And then I will receive a notification that, okay, you have done something. That is after you push, you add, you commit, you push, you come and do the pull request. I will receive your task. Then I will go on to review your task and give you your review or mark, score, something like that. Now, that will be open to only you. So with that, I'll be able to monitor everybody's progress in the repository, okay, without having to distort the main one. So that is what fork is for you to have a copy of this repository, and then you can change it, do whatever you want to do with it without affecting this. And when you create a pull request, I'll be able to see the changes you've made. Do you understand? So that is what I wanted to show us. That is very important. So it is very important that we attempt all these tasks. Okay. So for today, we don't have the task yet. Okay. Let's just enjoy ourselves and focus on our ALX tags or whatever you have. Then from our next classes, that's when I'll start assigning tags. You see, we have over 20-something tags. This was the last one we did. This was a program to create something. You get to do that when time comes. So don't disturb yourself on this. Just go ahead and clone the repository now and have it, do your identity update. If you have any challenge, you inbox any of your seniors you have in your groups, or you inbox me too, and we'll attend to you. So I hope this is understood. This is very important. This is what everybody in the community is expected to do. As far as you're in the community, it shows that you are ready to work too. Okay? So that should be all for now. Do we have any questions before we do any other thing? Do we have any questions? Do we understand the whole fog, clone, identity updates, and pull requests?
Yes, we do.
Okay, great, no problems. I missed to a point. Okay, please, let's hurry up. What did you miss? You are lost. Where are you lost? Can't you unmute your mic and speak so we could be a little bit faster? Okay, wherever you are lost, this is clear enough. You can inbox me or any of your students.
Okay. So what happened was that? Okay, what happened was that I had a problem with my network, my data. So I think I went off for some time. So
Okay.
Yeah, but I
Okay.
think don't worry. I'll just maybe I got to a
Okay,
point
okay,
where you were
fine.
writing was in you're giving us the assignment. Write a program
Okay.
that ask and read the following. That's what I got to, but that's fine. Maybe I can maybe go to the WhatsApp page and
All right.
maybe get it
All right.
from what's
Okay.
in our colleagues. Our colleagues there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'll be best.
Okay, great. Okay, great. No problem. Just inbox me or any of your seniors and we'll guide you on doing that. So I believe everybody understands. So before I go, I want to introduce our seniors we have here again to us. So first here I have Blessing Chukwuwike. Now, Blessing Chukwuwike is one of the great persons we have in the community. Okay, so she's available in some of the groups, if not all of the groups. So if you have any challenge at all, you could always drop your question in the group and tag her. I'm going to introduce her again to the group so we could know her. You could tag her with your question so that she could also see it quickly. Or you could inbox her too, and then whenever she has the time, she's going to attend to you. Now, I want to let us know that we all have our businesses to attend to. So if you inbox somebody and they don't reply you immediately, know that they are either busy or doing something. So give them time, but eventually they will reply you. So that is Blessing. I'm going to give her time to speak when I'm done. So again, we have the person who took us for our session today, Justice Obasi. He's one of the great persons we have in the community too. And he has been the one who has been recording our sessions. So some of us have met him already. But if you have not, that is Justice Obasi. And he took us for today's session. So we believe we'll be seeing more of him around. Okay. So I think that is the two seniors that we have here today. Maybe in our next sessions, we'll get to see more. I wish to click on create for. Yeah, you're supposed to click on that. Zebon. Okay, so that is that. So I believe we are done. So I will leave this opportunity for Blessing Chukwuwike to say something to us. Blessing, please.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Blair.
It's so nice to meet you all. A lot of things it can just make you feel intimidated. So please don't take it to heart. We will try our best to provide as much support as we can. So one thing I would like to leave with us is that don't struggle in silence. If you're struggling with something, bring it out. Even if the senior you're sending a message to, even if it's not so easy, I believe we can put head together to bring a solution to whatever it is that you're struggling with. So please don't struggle in silence and then come later and say, oh, nobody helped me. Please speak up, talk to people and get help where it is needed. It's really nice meeting you all once again. And thank you, David, for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you, Blessing, for that. So you've heard that she's saying that she's open to your questions or whatsoever you want to say to her. So if you have any challenge at all, no matter how it is it something personal, or you could always reach out to her. And believe me, she's a good person. I can tell you that. And she's a very good teacher too. So we are going to have her, let's say, in few of our sessions here, and you'll get to enjoy her session too. So that being said, we have Justice Obasi, and he has spoken to us already, but I want to open the session again for him to tell us something, an advice or whatever it is he would want to tell us. So Justice, please speak to us.
Yeah. David, thank you so much for the opportunity. And every other person, thank you for your time, for coming around, for your contributions and your questions. You guys are doing well. You guys should keep on studying your tasks, focus on your tasks, on your studies. Don't be in a haste to submit your tasks or to pass LLS, but rather focus on understanding the text or whatever you are learning from LLS. That's the most important thing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that. So you've heard him too. This is what we say all the time, and I want us to adhere to this. Don't focus on your deadlines. Don't focus on scoring 200% in the first deadline. Rather, focus on understanding the concept. I wouldn't have been here with you if I did not understand the concept. Yes, I wouldn't have even been in the program to this extent if I have not understood the concept. So please try to understand the concept. Forget your deadlines and the scores. Understand the concept. That is what these our tasks are there for you, so that you get to try to solve other things other than ALX tasks. Okay, so focus on understanding the concept. Very important. I'm going to tell you this over and over and over again. Ezebon is asking me what's cohort am I. Don't worry, I will tell you not now. So that is all for now. If you have any questions, I've said it. I'm going to tag our seniors again so we could come to the end of the session. Somebody has a question. Felistas, please speak.
Hello, how are you? My question is the same one.
Good.
I know you always you told me that I shouldn't worry about my marks and stuff, but I have this one thing that I'm not able to move away from. Like I can't ignore. Like I feel like if I keep seeing this type of the kind of stuff, there's no way I'm going. I feel discouraged. On my last task, I just want to understand, is anyone facing the same problem or something is wrong somewhere? Something is just fishy for me. Because I finished my whole task. It's not like I didn't read. I did read. I did take time to study. I finished the whole task. I checked my checkers. All my checkers were correct. Then now the checker ran at 6 a.m., right? And the first question it gave me 100%. The second question gave me a 0. So I went to look into the question review QA, and it's telling me that the reason why that I had that 0 is because there is no repository. How can there be no repository when the question 0 is saying it's 100% done? Where did the checker found the answer that is already done? Where did the checker check anyway to say that all the checkers are correct, like everything is present? At the end of the day, I got it. I got like half of the questions, I got them 0, 0, 0, and I think the couple of questions 3, they were correct. So how does that work? Like what kind of error is that? That will just tell me that there's no repo when I've already done my tasks in the repo.
Okay. This is not the first time I'm hearing this complaint. It's something that I experienced too. But then you might have gotten the message wrong. No, it might have been something related to your repository or something like that. It may not have meant that you don't have a repository. So what you should do for me now to be able to help you, please screenshot the message you got and send it to me. Now, sometimes when these things happen, it's because of something we missed in our tasks. Maybe we solved it, but then we missed out on something. So please, always pay attention to that. But send me a snapshot of the error message. Let me review it, and then I might have an idea on what it is. If I don't, I'll reach out to someone who might also have an idea on what. Okay, you're welcome. Okay, someone said, for those of us who stumbled on his link today on Slack, is there WhatsApp for this group? Okay, yes, we have. Depending on the cohort you had, we have groups for everybody on the cohort. So inbox me on WhatsApp, let me know, or inbox me wherever you got the link from, either on Slack or on WhatsApp. Then tell me your cohort so I could add you up to any of the groups, depending on your cohort. So he still said there was a problem with checkout today. I think better said it's getting fixed. Yes, sometimes, we are too much. Alex, we are much. So imagine when everybody's trying to use the checker at once. It will get clustered. And because of that, it will give us errors. So sometimes when things like that happen, you just chill, take a break, and come back again, maybe later in the day. And you see that what seemed wrong is going to be right. Just telling you out of experience, something I experienced too. So please, sometimes when you have all those checker errors, just chill. Don't panic or something like that. Just chill. And then later on, you just come back and check. It should be all right. And if afterwards it's still giving you the same thing, then you reach out to somebody who has been in the program, like me, Blessing, or Justice, or any other person. And then we'll see how we could help you. So I think we've come to the end of the session today. I can tell you that it has been amazing. From having Justice take us on our session today, to having Blessing contribute and advising us on what we should do, and having all these wonderful, amazing persons like you here. It has been good. So please, let's stick to our concepts and the basics, and I believe we'll get something out of it. So till next time, I wish everybody the best and be good. Okay? So you can unmute your mics now and say goodbye to your friends. Till next time. Till next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.